Alright YouTube, so we're going to be doing an Arakaali's Fang build guide today. I've done Arakaali's Fang build guides in the past. The first one I did was for an occultist, if you want to look that one up. That does about twice as much damage as this build does, but it dies about 5 times as much. This build is incredibly cheap, it's incredibly tanky, and it does pretty decent damage. It's just not the highest damage out there, and I built it more for tank than I built it for damage. I'm having a ton of fun. It clears the Ancestry League mechanic really well, just because you can just walk into pretty much anything and just like tank the whole map, or tank the whole playing field, whatever you would call it, the arena. So yeah, so let me just get into the build guide. Let's go over the mechanics. We can do just a quick map just so you can see how it runs in maps. It's probably better for mapping than it is for bossing. The bossing variant is probably more on the cultist side, just because of how the mechanics work. And if you want to look at that, you can look at my previous guides. So first off, let's just go to the items. Excuse my inventory. So actually, let's just pull these out. Put this here because we'll talk about these. So the Arakaali's Fang, it's obviously the main item in this build. If you don't know anything about it, if you're just new and you're just googling this, or somehow this has been suggested to you, the top line, 100% chance to trigger a level 1 race spider on kill. So on kill means you, it's not your minions killing unless you're using Gravebind. Gravebind is a glove, and it's commonly used with the Arakaali's Fang to automate the taking it credit for a kill. So the glove says, I think the glove says something like, the kill counts as you as opposed to the thing that actually killed it. For this, we're not going to use that one. We don't need it for the Guardian. The Guardian has a unique mechanic that allows you to do this a little bit slower than the gloves would allow, but also it gives you a little bit more opportunity to do different gloves and different mechanics. So moving on, and melee fizz, a multi-strike, and minion damage. Again, these gems aren't even fully leveled, so the damage you'll see in the guides that are the path of building that you're going to see in the description isn't even full damage. You could probably get another 800 to 1 million pretty easy out of this build. So I think we're at 2.6, maybe 3 right now. So anyways, Ancient Skull, if you don't know what Ancient Skull is, it's pretty much, it goes hand in hand with Arakaali's Fang. The last line here, minions can hear the whispers for 5 seconds after they deal a crit. So when a minion crits, they hear whispers, which I think pretty much doubles the damage your spiders are doing. It's an incredibly big buff of damage. It's astronomical amount of damage buff, but it does a KSD gen on their life for I think 5 seconds, and that normally kills most minions. To get around this, for the buffing minions, for my two not host chieftains but carnage chieftains, I think, that produce frenzy charges. You can see these guys in the back, they're frenzy charges. You get them off of like jungles or whatever. I use a anomalous control destruction support. So the anomalous version, if you do it to 20 quality, the first line says supported skills have 100% less critical strike chance. This means if you link it to, like, say, your specters, they will never crit. They'll never interact with the Ancient Skull mechanic, so they'll never kill themselves. If you don't have that, and you have, like, say, buffing minions like your Golem and your specters, they'll kill themselves pretty quickly, pretty commonly. So let's just go over the links and the helm. So I'm doing Discipline, I'm doing Carrion Golem, I'm doing Feeding Frenzy, and I'm doing Defiance. So pretty much I'm just summoning the Golem whenever I need a damage buff, because the damage buff from the Golem is flat fizz, and then on top of that, Feeding Frenzy also is a damage buff. So I'll probably run around the map without my Golem. If I need more damage at a boss, I'll summon him. The amulet, I haven't even anointed this. Discipline, obviously I just need a little bit of reservation room on this. Aegis Aurora, if you don't know how Aegis Aurora works, I'm just showing you the gems. Aegis Aurora, the second to bottom line, recover energy shield equal to 2% of armor when you're blocking. On this build, I have around 78,000 armor. 2% of that's around 1,600 ES. So if you look at my ES pool, each time I block, I regen more than half of it. So if I have, let's just show you. If I have, I'm gonna do, let's just do this. You can see here I have 72 and 75% block. If I do roomies, which is my 5, I do this and I do this, I'll get 75 and 75. So that means that I have a 75% chance to block spells, a 75% chance to block attacks, and every time I do that, I regen half or more than half of my ES pool. So incredibly powerful. The way that you get that much armor, I have a flat 40k, which is kind of actually funny. So my 4 and my 5, my roomies. Roomies is great. Just please, if you're building this build and you're using Aegis Aurora, please use roomies because you get flat armor and you get block. It's a double win. You probably want to qual it or get a better version of it. All this gear is just pretty cheap, and I'm just testing this build out. It's not at all min-maxed. So I'm gonna hit Basalt and Molten Shell at the same time. You can see 78k. So if everything's going off, I have a lot of ES. If it's not all going off, I still have a pretty big pool of ES. The Basalt Flask, specifically the more mechanic, 20% more. You should look into like how math works if you don't understand more. More is a very strong word in Path of Exile. I also do the increased effect and the increased armor. So the Basalt Flask with the roomies is a huge buff. It just pretty much doubles my armor, which doesn't seem like it should if you're just looking at the flavor text. So anyways, all right, keep moving. Boots are nothing special. They're just stat sticks. I have Cyclone, Flesh Offering, Channel, and Desecrate. I just Cyclone around, it'll Desecrate, it'll Flesh Offering the corpses, and I'll just give a movement and damage bonus. Belt is just a stat stick. The chest, again, is just a stat stick. I'm not even doing a reservation on this. All this gear is just like testing gear. We're doing Malevolence, Enlightened Support, Tempest Shield, Despair, Blasphemy Support, and Determination. The chest is just an aura buff chest. You normally build that in Arcali Fang builds, unless you're doing like a Herald of Agony build. So Herald of Agony builds are entirely different. I'm not going to get into that conversation now, but I just personally prefer just an Arcali's Fang build because you can do a lot with it, and it's pretty cheap and easy to build. I also run Discipline, Summon, Carry On, Feeding Frenzy, and Defiance. And Defiance is also really big for armor here, so if you're also like, how do I get some more armor, you get, for 10% mana, you get Defiance too. So, and Discipline's free because of, All's Uprising. You can get Determination. They're pretty much the same. Reservation back and forth. So anyways, reservation chest, I have armor and ES on all of my helm, gloves, and boots, which means that I have a skill tree passive that doubles my armor and ES on my chest. On my gloves, I think you've already seen this. We have the Anomalous Control Destruction, Minion Life, Elemental Army, and Raised Spectre. Spectres I'm using produce Frenzy Charges. Frenzy Charges are the only thing that produces extra damage for spiders. You can do, I think, fractional amounts for power charges because it helps crit just a little bit, but again, it doesn't really matter. Rings are just stat sticks, just whatevers. And yeah, I think that's it. So roomies, Basalt. I use a Quartz Flask for the phasing. I don't really care about the rest of it. It's just the phasing is incredibly important because I don't want to try to Cyclone out of degens or AoE stuff because it's slower than walking, and I'd rather just walk out of issues instead of just having to tank the damage. I think that's it for this bit. Some people will run the Despair in the ring and use Skitterbots. I don't do this for some build preferences that I'll show you in the skill tree, but some people do that so that the Despair curse is applying the damage closer to where the spiders are, because the Skitterbots are pretty quick like the spiders are. And then also, like here, if you really want to build something, like, you know, build your rings cheap, you can buy a fractured base and then just Essence of Woe or something like that, which is life. Roll that until you get some side mods. So I get a fractured fire res, I roll for life, and then I actually hit movement speed and minion damage as side mods. So I pretty much was able to choose 5 different mods in this ring: the ES, the minion damage, the minion movement speed, the life, and the fire resistance. And I think it cost me like 3 or 4 C to make, because I just had some Essence of Woe and I bought the ring for like, I think 3 or 4 C. So anyways, rambling aside, and I hope you know, if you're using Arcali's Fang, you know what this is, because you need that for some automation. Okay, so moving on. Here's a skill tree. I'm going to tell you quickly why I do some things and why I don't do some things. I don't skill path up here. I don't path up here for any of these skills because there's not enough bonuses or benefits up here. You're doing a lot of travel for not a lot of damage. There's some life, there's some survivability, there's some automation. The only real damage up here are in these 2 nodes. And this is not a lot of damage. I don't need a 3rd Spectre, so I'm not taking that. I don't need this mastery. I don't use all the masteries I already have. And then Wither stuff, I don't need to deal with that right now. I'll put Wither in it later on if I care. So to start with, I'll path up this way. I'll take some life here. I'll move over here. This is an incredibly important node for Arcali's Fang because it increases the duration of when how long the spiders are out. So this whole cluster is incredibly important. Don't miss it. And any of these tattoos are just like me just taking random crap. It doesn't actually affect the build. So this path takes, you pretty much always take this path for minions because you just get a bunch of stuff for pretty much no travel points. I take the Spiritual Aid and the Spiritual Command, so I get attack speed and damage on my Cyclone, because the way that I run this is I don't use Gravebind. I use Sentinel Radiance, and I use Cyclone to do enough damage to start killing, like, say, white mobs on the map, and that will, if I have a Desecrate down, will summon my spiders, and then I start ramping. Whereas previously you would just summon some, you would kill some of your worms with Gravebind in common Arcali builds, and that would ramp you. So anyways, moving on. Divine Shield, there's, you know, it's just free regen. I'll just go through this, pause if you want. These are just whatever clusters. They're not really great. That one's a little bit expensive, but whatever. I actually crafted that one, so it was free to me. And I crafted this one too. So the big thing to note here is that I take this for the 30% crit reduction. I take this for the 30% crit reduction, and I take this for the 40% crit reduction, so I take no extra critical damage. That helps me level out my damage intake because I'm able to get my block up, which means I'm able to get my ES regen up. And then I also get a lot of life regen every 4 seconds. So I'm doing a lot of life regen, I'm doing a lot of ES regen, and if I don't get any spikes, this is really hard to kill. Yeah, so I'm taking some of these for blocks. You could go up here and take some blocks, some blocking up here. You don't really need it. Don't take Glancing Blow when you're using Aegis Aurora. It's a bait. It seems like it's good until you realize you're taking 65% of the damage you're blocking, and you have to regen that now. And if it's chaos damage, now you're taking life damage, and you can't regen that with the ES regen. So it's just, it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it to take this, and I think a lot of people have made comments about that too. If you watch other videos, Here we're just doing this for reservation. And then here we're doing this again for reservation because I want to run a bunch of auras. Let's see. This one extends the time for my guard skill, which is Molten Shell. And this, I mean, obviously reservation's great, but this also helps me like mitigate a lot of damage. Yeah, that's pretty much the build. I just skip these nodes because these are just crap travel nodes, and you can use them if you want. I don't think it's worth taking. I would also like later on probably path over here and get these 2 nodes. Yeah, so I think that's most of it. Let me show you my auras. So I use Malevolence, Discipline, Tempest Shield. I don't really care about the lightning damage, I just care about the spell block. And it also gives me immunity to shock. So, I mean, the shock would cause crits, which I'm already immune to, so that doesn't really matter. It's really just a spell block. Defiance Banner, you don't have to plant this, you just carry it around and it just gives you armor. Despair, which is again centralized on me, and if it's centralized on me, if I'm walking through something, it means that the things I'm walking through aren't going to crit and do extra critical damage to me. And then Determination. So I guess let's just talk about a couple automations. So if I Cyclone, just did a Flesh Offering, but if I Cyclone and I just do the Despair and produce the corpses, I can hold A if I need to resummon my corpses. Carnage Chieftain is the one that does the frenzy charges. I middle mouse click for my specters, Carnage Chieftain, and I get my 2 specters back. I normally will just resummon specters in the hideout. I don't really worry about that in the map. If I lose them in the map, it doesn't matter. Also, tip: if your specters die in the map, just go back to your hideout. As long as you've desecrated in your hideout recently, you're going to have the same minions that were your specters. They are going to appear on the floor if you cycle enough. You'll have these just like default skeletons, but you'll still have like Host Chieftain. I had some of those. You'll have like Carnage Chieftain. So you don't need to keep going back to the locations where you got these from. You just do it in your hideout, even if die, if they've died or you've died, and you'll be able to repopulate them. So yeah, so Convocation and Cyclone, Dash, all that kind of stuff works. I don't know if I hit this. Works well with this block node, so I get 25% chance to block spell and attack if I'm doing spell and attack each time. So you can see down here my block is 47 and 50. So if I hit, actually let's just refresh this. So if I hit my roomies, I Cyclone and I Dash, you can see 75 and 75. And this is just the flask is just there, so I get a little bit of extra attack block, and that's going to be going off all the time, so I don't really need to worry about that. And as long as I'm cycloning, which I will be for the Flesh Offering and the Desecrate, so that I can summon the spiders. I also need to be dashing, which I will be anyways, so that's just free block, which then again ramps my regen. So I think the last thing I'd say is my golem. I don't know if I said this before either, but I just run this guy with Feeding Frenzy because I use him just as a damage buff. I don't really care if he dies during the map. He does some flat fizz damage, and he'll do Feeding Frenzy, which is both some damage bonuses, but most of the time when you're mapping, you don't need that much damage. Mapping, you need like maybe 2 million, and after that you're fine. So yeah, so let's just go into map, and oh, another good thing about this is, I'll just use this one. Another good thing about Arcali's Fang is, since the spiders are immune to damage, you can do Fizz Reflect, Elemental Reflect, it doesn't matter. As long as you're not cycloning too much into things, you'll be fine. So I'm just gonna summon my Sentinel Radiance. I'm gonna start cycloning It's gonna kill some stuff. It's gonna summon my spiders. And at this point in time, I've ramped. I need to stop cycloning too often and let my energy shield, sorry, not energy shield, but mana regen, so that I can make sure that I'm doing enough desecrates to spawn minions. I'm gonna respawn my Sentinel Radiance. If you keep on cycloning, at least on this build, I don't have enough mana regen, so eventually I'll just cyclone, but I won't. What is this? Oh, nothing. Okay. I won't have enough mana to do desecrate, and I'll just stop summoning spiders. So every once in a while, I'll cyclone. So yeah. So anyways, you can see this is like a couple million damage. It's just kind of walking through this map. Again, this is a low level yellow, so again, don't take this as like me saying that it's the best map in the world. My spiders unsummoned because I didn't have anything for them to kill. Let's see. There we go. Oh, there's two. Kind of annoying. Wish the spiders didn't unsummon. There we go. And I hadn't even done this map. That's funny. Alright, let's go back out. Maybe just a little bit more and then we'll call it on this. And you can see that the second I do my Sentinel Radiance, then everything starts working again. I can summon my Golem if I want a little bit more damage. It doesn't really matter here. You're just really dashing through the map. You're probably just pianoing your keyboard most of the time. And then just make sure you get your mana regened a little bit so that whenever you summon or desecrate, you can start doing the spider summons. So anyways, let's just go back. Let's talk for a second and then we can end the guide. This is a very strong defensive build. This is a very cheap build too. I think I probably spent like four or less divine on it. And that 4 or less divine is a really cheap build. It's like a nothing build when it comes to like price. So if you're looking for like a minion build that can do pretty much all content, that if you really want to just reinvest more money into, you can just keep on making it better. Things I would do after, like to progress this, is I would look at poison immunity, bleed immunity, and burning immunity. So ignite immunity. The build is really great with hit damage regen, but is really bad with just degens. So I would probably put degens and stuns as my next things to work on. But yeah, it's a really great build. If you like this kind of content, maybe follow, maybe not, whatever you want. I'll put guides out every once in a while. So this is not a big channel that's going to talk about something 100 times a week. And then just blow up your feed. So whenever I put out a video, I'll have put out maybe one every month. I don't know. So anyways, I hope you like it. I hope this was helpful. I think Guardian's probably the better Arcalys Fang for this league. Yeah, I think that's it. Have a good one.